I'm going out, I gotta go. I'll bang a rang on the radio. So turn it up, I'm telling you. I think I'm ready for something new. Hey, hello, it's nice to meet ya. Hey, come in and have a slice of pizza. Hey, hello, it's nice to meet ya. Hey, come in and have a slice of pizza.
I'm Noelle, the host of Pop Punk and Pizza, and today I'm joined by Sam from I Am the Spirit. So how are you today?
I am fine. This is good.
Yeah. So first off, I wanted to ask, where are you from?
Yeah, so I grew up just north of New York City, but recently I've been based out of both Clearwater, Florida, and Naples.
Nice. Yeah, I really wish I lived in Florida, especially in the winter, and it's freezing cold, and I live in the Midwest.
Oh man, I went to college in the Midwest, so
Really?
I'm familiar with those single digit days where it's
Yeah,
like the high is 12 and the low is 6. But
right.
yeah, last week here it was like a low 55 for a lot of the week, and I was like, and it was raining and it was London type weather, and I was like, this is terrible. But then I
Hmm.
looked, to my side and see a palm tree and thought like, okay, this is the worst it's gonna get. Like I can
Yeah,
handle this.
it's not too bad as long as there's palm trees, there's
Yeah,
beaches, it's nice.
exactly.
But do you play all the instruments in your band besides the drums?
All the instruments besides the drums. That's right. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you're like multi-talented. So would you,
Yeah. I'm not gonna pretend.
yeah, but would you ever consider adding more members for like live shows or something?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah, that's cool. So you describe your music as positively oriented pop punk. So can you tell me more about that?
Yeah.
Like kind of what that means?
Yeah. So I've been listening to pop punk for like over 20 years, and I love the style, and I it's just like fun, catchy, exciting. Um but as I got older and I would listen to a lot of the same songs, I kind of grew out of some of the messaging of the lyrics. I still listen to all the same stuff that I did growing up because like I love it and connect with it to some degree. But I wanted to have something where it's like all the same kind of guitars and drums and bass, but the lyrics had positive messaging.
Hmm.
So like when someone listened to the music, they were like, I don't want to say like programming their mind to have like better beliefs, but that's kind of the idea that like okay, if you like fall in love with a song, you're gonna listen to it hundreds or thousands of times.
Hmm.
And so if the lyrics have helpful meanings behind them and you keep listening to it, like I don't know, maybe you'll start believing it, and I thought like that'd
Right.
be really cool. So and I thought there was a space for that in the genre. So
Hmm.
that's kind of my thinking behind it.
Yeah, that's really cool because yeah, definitely most punk music I would say right now is kind of uh like a lot of it is angry and like negative, kind of talking about that, which can be helpful too, if you're feeling the same way and you want to get your emotions out. But also,
Yeah.
like, I feel like the positively oriented pop punk could also be helpful. And, like you said, if you just like keep listening to it, it might be able to, like you have a different mindset. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So how did you decide to start releasing music?
Um, well, I'm glad you asked. Okay, so I started recording in 2002.
Okay.
And like so back then, it was a lot harder to make like good like to make music sound good from home.
Yeah.
And so at that time I had it was called a Roland VS 840. And so
Mhm.
it was kind of digital, but you couldn't plug it into a computer, and you recorded everything on a I don't even know if you know what this is. Do you know what a zip disk is?
No, I don't.
Yeah, it's like it's yeah, it's like it was about the size of I don't know, like a deck of cards, and it's
Yeah.
kind of thick, and you recorded onto that, and then when you wanted to try to get
Okay.
your music onto the computer, you had to like have another disc that was formatted for your computer because this one was formatted for this machine, and you'd
Yeah.
switch them back and forth and sit there for like 45 minutes just to like get it to convert your
Oh,
song to get it onto the computer.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I did that for a couple of years, and I was at that time I was like, I don't know, 12 years old. And but when I was 14, I was able to get a system that actually like worked with my computer. And those were really hard
Yeah.
to get in those days. So they were like really expensive, and and there wasn't a
Mhm.
lot for the home studio. Excuse me. So anyway, so I started recording at home in my basement, and I had like sort of a band. It wasn't that serious, but we recorded some music. But then other people like got word that I had recording equipment, and it was really uncommon in those days to have like a decent setup at your house. And so
Mhm.
local bands throughout the county would start coming and recording, and I thought like, oh, this is really cool. Maybe this could be a thing.
Yeah.
But then it didn't become a thing. But I kept recording on my own for years, and I just never, I guess my music didn't seem to like make sense. It was, I would try to write these songs that I thought were like, oh, like I'm not going to be formulaic, like I'm going to be like cool and like
Yeah.
different. But then like people would listen to it and say, this is like all over the place. It's not like I can't connect with this. And it
Yeah.
wasn't until the summer of 2017 where I started recording more seriously. I had like a gap. I was in school, and then I took a break, and I was going to go back to school, and I had a summer, and I thought, all right, like this is that, like let me actually see if I can create a few songs that like have different parts that make sense, that fit together. Like it tells a story, it's a song, it works.
Mhm.
And I did, and one of those songs became Onward and Upward, which is the one I just released a couple of weeks ago.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear that you started out with that. What did you call it? It was like a zip disk.
Yeah, so it was basically it
Yeah,
was an
that
electronic
seems,
machine that with like this old fashioned thing at this point, yeah.
yeah, it seems very like complicated to use and like very time consuming. But yeah, right now it's like a lot different. So that's cool. So you worked on your new song Onward and Upward with producer Kyle Black, who has worked with other bands like Pierce Veil, Paramore, and State Champs. So I was wondering, how did you get him to produce it for you, and like what was it like working with him?
Yeah, Kyle's the best. He's super cool. Yeah, I just like I anyway. Um, so this is all right. So I had released two songs under just my name.
Hmm.
And so I did that with a local producer mixer in Naples. And some time passed, and he got really busy, and he had started working on this third song, which is the one I ended up doing with Kyle, but we never finished it. And then like I took some time off, did some other things, came back, like reworked some of the song, and then wanted to finish it with him. And he was really busy and couldn't do it.
Hmm.
And I thought like, oh, I'm already like really invested with this guy, and this is terrible. Like, what am I gonna do? Like the song's never gonna get finished. This is awful. And so for a couple days, like I kind of sat there moping, like as if
Yeah,
like there was only one person that could help me finish the song. And then I realized
yeah.
like, wait, that's stupid. Like there's a million people that can work on music. And then I thought like, wait, why do I have to specifically do this? Just like from someone that's local, because at that time I was simply looking for someone to mix it. I wasn't looking to like redo any vocals or redo any bass or guitar or anything.
Hmm.
I had like all of the what they call them stems, like just the audio
Yeah.
raw audio files that I could just send to whoever I wanted. And
Hmm.
so I think one day I was like making a soup, and so I had Spotify running on in the background, and I said, okay, next song that comes on that I love the mix of, I'm just gonna email that person. Like as if like, oh, I could just like
Yeah.
read, I like as if like I can just email whoever I want and they're gonna care about who I am, right? Like
Yeah.
so anyway, so the song Had It Coming by Like Pacific came on.
Hmm.
And I just thought it sounded awesome. It was really high energy. It packed a punch. The vocals really in your face. The guitars were huge. And I looked up the credits and saw that Kyle was listed as the mixer. So I emailed his team, and they got back to me, I think in a day.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was really quick. I'd also emailed someone else. I reached out to a different producer as like a backup, but I really wanted to work
Yeah.
with Kyle. And just they got back really quick. And I thought, okay, this is happening. This is it. They're like, yeah, Kyle loves your song. He wants to
Wow.
but they're like, he wants to do pre-production on the bass.
Yeah.
So meaning that he wanted to rework like the bass part, re-record it. And
Okay.
And then when I finally started talking to him, he's like, yeah, like I want to redo the vocals. Can you swing that as well?
Hmm.
And so I thought, yeah, cool, let's do that. And then he's like, yeah, and then we need to fix the guitar in the chorus. And so anyway, my point
Yeah.
is, it was like, it wasn't that he just was like, oh, okay, I can just make a quick buck, like mixing this guy's song. Don't have to meet him, see him. I can just send it right back and it's fine. It was,
Yeah.
he heard it and he heard these things about it. He's like, okay, this is a cool song, but we need to do like this, and that to really make it
Right.
a great song. And the fact that he cared about that was, I mean, that just, it's like, this is the guy, you know?
Yeah. That's so cool. He just responded so fast and that, he was able to help you out with all that. So
Yeah.
yeah. So what first got you into music or playing music? Because I know Blink 182 is one of the bands that inspires you. So can you tell me about like how they kind of inspired you?
Yeah. So, okay, when I was really, really, really young, like 2 years old, 3 years old. So this is like 1992, 93. A really
Yeah.
big song at that time was Two Princes
Oh yeah.
why am I blanking on the name of the
I
band?
know that.
I love this band. Shoot. What's the band's name again?
I know what song you're talking about. I
Da,
can't think of the
da,
band name.
da, na, 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 na.
Yeah.
The album's Pocket Full of Kryptonite, and the band is, oh, okay, it's gonna come to me. Anyway,
Yeah,
so I
maybe it'll
heard
come
that.
later.
So yeah, I'm gonna like randomly yell it out in like 15 minutes. You're
Yeah.
like, what? So anyway, so I heard that song and I thought, okay, I have to play guitar. This is the coolest song ever. And I was in like
Yeah.
nursery school at the time, so I started an air guitar band because that seemed like the right thing to do in nursery school. Anyway, yeah, so I did
Yeah.
that. But it wasn't until, I mean, then the whole boy band thing blew up, and I was like, I always wanted to still play guitar, but I kind of got away from the rock music. And
Yeah.
it wasn't until I remember, like, I was on a school trip and I was on the bus in fifth grade, and my best friend at the time had his Sony Walkman. I don't know,
Yeah.
like if you like the CD player, and it had the
Yeah.
headphones that wrap behind your head. And
Yeah.
so so he was listening to something. So I said, "Hey, what are you listening to?" And he said, "Okay, you got to check this out." So he didn't tell me what it was, and he puts on the headphones on me, and he presses play, and I'm listening, like, "Wow, this is like so fast, and it's really catchy, and the guitars are like really cutting." And there's a different guy singing the chorus. That's so cool. I've never heard two
Yeah.
vocalists in one band that are like switching off.
Right.
That's really unique. And what I was listening to was I was listening to the Mark, Tom, and Travis show version of Damn It.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, that was like I had known of Blink 182, but the last time I heard them was a couple of years before that. I was in third grade and Enema of the State had just come out, and I was really into the Backstreet Boys. So
Yeah.
I remember carpooling with some friends to school one day, and like he has his mom put on Enema of the State, and I'm like, oh, Blink 182, that's so lame. Like, put on the Backstreet Boys.
Oh no.
So I obviously changed a little bit. Still the
Yeah.
Backstreet Boys are still great, but yeah, Blink 182 is that became really what defined sort of the direction I wanted to go musically. So I finally got a guitar in fifth grade and started learning their songs, and it was great.
Cool. Yeah. I just looked up the band name. It's Spin Doctors.
Oh yeah, how did I forget that? It's the Spin Doctors. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
So I started learning how to play the guitar about like a year ago, and I also tried teaching myself the drums. And so I know it's very hard to, learn an instrument. So I was wondering if you have any advice for people who are just starting out and they might want to start their own band.
Yeah. So advice for starting out. I think the biggest thing, well, okay, obviously have fun with it and just don't get upset when your fingers hurt a lot at the beginning because
Yeah.
that's gonna happen.
That is true.
And then I think beyond that, like just play the songs that you like to play. And then if you can stomach it, maybe, I don't know, maybe learn a little bit of music theory, not a lot, like
Hmm.
probably know a major scale that might help. But yeah, just
Yeah.
have fun, play okay, for like actually really playing and like trying to write music,
Hmm.
I would say like when I'm writing music, I I'm going by feeling. So actually, I kind of forget. Like I took guitar lessons for a bunch of years, and I guess some of
Hmm.
it kind of stayed with me. But I'm always playing for feel,
Hmm.
and so I think someone that's trying to really like get into it if they play for feel, if that connects with them, that that might work really well. And then I think another thing is in terms of like from a songwriting perspective, what I try to do is I try to dance around the chord progressions that people find familiar and really enjoyable,
Mhm.
but do it in a way where they might not consciously realize that they're listening to this progression that they love.
Yeah.
So it sounds new and fresh, but at the same time, like they are. So that's why they're like, I like it, but it sounds different, but I don't know why. I hope they like it. I
Yeah.
don't know. But yeah, so that's kind of a
Yeah.
strategy that I take to songwriting. And I don't know, maybe
Cool.
someone else can do that too.
Yeah. That's interesting. So, how did you come up with the name for your band?
Yeah. So I had thought about a band name for a long time. And I was okay. So I was lying in a hospital bed. I was fine, but I was lying in a hospital bed and I was just, I was like imagined looking down at myself, like from
Yeah.
above. And I don't know, the first thing that I thought of when I was like kind of pretending I was like above my body looking down was like I am the spirit. And then like I got kind of a warm, fuzzy tingling feeling in my body, like an activation of the nervous system, I think. I don't know. And I thought like, that's interesting. And then I wanted to test it. So I thought like, some people say like we're like comprised of like mind, body, and spirit. And so I
Mhm.
thought, okay, let me like say to myself, I am the body. And then I didn't get like any warm, fuzzy feeling. And then I said, okay, like I am the mind. No, I am the spirit. And then I got like the warm, fuzzy feeling. I thought
Yeah.
like, well, it's kind of a weird name for a band. Like, but you know what? Like I'm gonna sink my teeth into this and I don't care if it's weird or
Mhm.
like doesn't fit the genre. I'm gonna like go 100% in this particular direction and just own it and see what happens.
Yeah. I think it sounds cool. Yeah. It does sound better than the other two options, in my opinion. It just like gives you it sounds more epic, I think.
Appreciate
But
it.
yeah.
And one of
So,
my friends, like, he's like, one of my friends said, yeah, your band name's like a combination of I Am the Avalanche and Spirit Box.
oh yeah. Yeah. I think it's a good pop punk band name.
Thank you.
Uh, so if you could collaborate with any artist or band, who would it be?
Oh, wow. Uh, I think is an amazing songwriter. And just uh, Claudio Sanchez from Coheed and
Oh
Cambria.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's always just finding ways to reinvent sort of his music and how to, like I was saying earlier, how to like dance around these familiar progressions. I think he's a mastermind at doing that. So that would be a really cool experience. And his voice is
Cool.
awesome.
Yeah. That's a really cool band. So, what is your like ultimate goal as an artist, or like what would be your dream to accomplish? Like any, like would you want to go on tour with a certain band, or would you want to have your like own world tour or something, or would you be okay with like staying as like a smaller band?
Well, that's a really good question. You ask really good questions, by the
Oh,
way,
thank
Emma.
you.
So I've just started doing this like recently. So I'm also in medical school right now, and I'll drive to campus. I live really close, and so like I'll just drive back and forth to campus. And so I'll
Okay.
put on. I actually recorded 4 songs with Kyle, and so like
Mhm.
I'll rotate them and I'll like listen to them when I'm driving to school. And so
Yeah.
I started doing this thing where I like just try to see what kind of like vision or mental picture comes into my head when I listen to like a particular song that I made.
Mhm.
And recently I was sitting in my car and then the vision that came was like, it was like I was playing Lollapalooza. And that was
Yeah.
kind of random. I was like, oh, huh. That wasn't like consciously, that's not the first thing I would typically think of, like, oh yeah, let's go play Lollapalooza. But it was
Yeah.
like clearly it was a big outdoor stage. There was about 5,000 people in the crowd in this vision. And like people are crowd surfing and like trying to get over the barricade. It was cool. I was like, okay, this is like
Yeah.
never gonna happen. But that's the vision. And I thought, okay, it'd be really cool to play like a big festival.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, dream big, you know.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit about the lyrics of your new song Onward and Upward and kind of what they mean to you?
Yeah. Um, So at the time that I wrote that song, um, I was about to go back to school and I was going to move from Florida to Manhattan.
Mhm.
And I was to do this pre-med program and at an Ivy League school.
Oh
And
wow.
it was like, and I was kind of like, you know, how like imposter syndrome, like, wow, like I've never gone to a school
Yeah.
like that. Like, can I do this? And then
Right.
like I'm gonna be in a big city and I've got to, even though I grew up in New York, I grew up like in the suburbs and I had never lived in the city before. And it kind of
Hmm.
seemed really overwhelming that I was gonna have to make all new friends and this and that.
Yeah.
And then I, you know, start doubting yourself, like, can I do this? And then like
Yeah.
other inner demons come that are not even related to like academics. It's just like stuff like just baggage that's accumulated over the years,
Hmm.
and that all comes out. And so the idea was, okay, let me like create this song where I can listen back to it, and it'll like put me maybe in a more positive headspace to have success in this new change.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically it. And I think as well, like the chorus, like kind of the main point of the chorus is to sort of like given my current circumstances, let me like do the best that I can with what I'm able to do right now. But like
Hmm.
not also like don't get complacent. Like let me continue to work on myself and make myself better, but also be okay with where I'm at now.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the message. It's like twofold. That's kind of the message. And
Yeah.
I guess it worked. Like I made it to med school. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good message. So what is your creative process when you write new music? Like, do you write the lyrics first or do you write the music first?
yeah, okay. That's a really good question. So and I learned a lot about my creative process when after I had finished this song with Kyle and I was working on some other ones with him,
Mhm.
he's like, okay, just like get an acoustic guitar and like try to write a chorus on it and get a good vocal hook and get like a good chord progression, then we'll build it from there. And for 2 weeks I
Yeah.
tried to do that. And I had never tried to write a song like that before.
Oh, cool.
So I was always like I had always um like did electric guitar and I ignored the vocals and I would
Hmm.
always typically try to create a chord progression that I really liked and then try to put a MIDI drum pattern as a temporary drums behind it that
Hmm.
sounded like that worked. And so for 2 weeks I tried this vocals and acoustic guitar. And I remember I remember he would say like, oh, just FaceTime me like whenever if you think you have something. So I'd FaceTime him and I'd play it for him and he'd be like, no, it's not very good. He's the coolest, nicest guy ever. So he's not like beating him
Yeah.
up, but he's like, yeah, no, it's not gonna work. And so I
Yeah.
tried it like I must have FaceTimed him like 5 or 6 or 7 times over a couple of weeks. I kept
Yeah.
thinking I had something. And then finally I said, you know what? This isn't working. I'm gonna go back to how I've always done it, which was the electric guitar, the MIDI drums, and then like if I feel like I have something, throw in the bass. And I did that. And that sort of solidified that's how my creative process works. And that's what I did on Onward and Upward as well.
Cool.
And then vocals
Yeah.
come later.
Yeah. That's interesting because a lot of different artists do it different ways. So, yeah. So, are there any specific venues or places you really want to play sometime in the future? Like they could be big or small. Like I know you mentioned Lollapalooza, that'd be really cool, but is there any other places?
Um, Honestly, like I would just be like in shock if someone asked me to play. Like, I mean, other than because I've only ever played open mics and I've played a lot of open mics.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty like open, I guess. I mean, even if I was invited to play like, well, not even like a club size show is like 1,500 people. Like I've never played something like that before, and that would
Yeah.
be really cool. So really anywhere, like if I was invited to play, I would just be totally honored that someone thought I was like good enough to want to invite me along. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Cool. So, are there any specific record labels you'd like to be signed to in the future, or would you rather like stay independent?
Oh, wow. You're making me really dream big here, Noel.
Yeah. I know.
uh what record labels did I think were cool growing up? Yeah, I don't really I don't really have a particular record label that I would like to be on. I guess what's cool about what I'm doing now is I get to own everything, and I'm not sure how things would change on a record label. Obviously, like
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably get a really big push, and they'd connect me in ways to things that I couldn't on my own, or maybe I could, but it'd be really difficult. So I guess the answer is no, nothing comes to mind. But yeah, I'm open.
Cool. So are there any bands you've been listening to recently that you would recommend?
Okay, let's look at my liked songs. Oh, you know what song I really like listened to recently is Sunshine by Goalkeeper.
Oh, cool.
That's
Yeah,
a
I've heard
cool
of them.
song. Um, okay. I've also been listening to Last Night Saved My Life. I think
Okay.
Derek from State Champs had a hand in doing some work with him. Um, yeah, so I've just been trying to explore like some of the smaller bands.
Hmm.
And there's another band that popped up, In Case We Crash.
Yeah.
And it's just been cool to see like what are people coming up with that like haven't totally blown up yet. So that's been really fun
Hmm.
to explore.
Cool. So are you planning on releasing an EP or album anytime soon?
Um, yeah, so okay, so the plan is um gonna try to release like one song every maybe 2 months or so. Because I did four with Kyle, and
Hmm.
then I yeah, so once those four songs were released, I guess like when the fourth one is released, it'll be like repackaged as an EP.
Okay.
But yeah, that was the plan. Beyond that, I don't know, but yeah, I'm really happy with how the four
Okay.
songs came out.
Cool. Yeah, I'm excited to see what you come out with. So do you have any live shows coming up?
None in the works. That I've been watching some of the artists that have blown up over the past couple of years, and it kind of seems like what ends up happening is like they might it'll sometimes take them a year or two to really blow up, like just on the internet or on TikTok or on
Yeah.
Instagram or on Spotify. And then after that year or two, I guess like once they have a really big following, or hopefully they do, then like things start falling more into place. So at the moment, nothing in particular. But I if things work out, then that'd be really cool.
Okay. Cool. And since this is the Pop Punk and Pizza podcast, I wanted to ask, what's your favorite kind of pizza?
All right, so this is like highly specific. So dairy doesn't go well with me, but there's a small pizza chain in Florida called Mr. O1. Like there's one in
Yeah.
Miami, there's one in Naples, and there's a few others. And they make a really good non-dairy pizza, like with some kind of coconut crust. And
Oh, that's interesting.
and I forgot what
Never heard of
non-dairy
that.
cheese. I don't. Yeah, and I forgot what non-dairy cheese they use, but it's really good. And then I just top it with whatever I want,
Yeah.
and it's awesome. So that's
Cool.
my go-to.
I'll have to try that if I go to Florida anytime soon.
Yes, you do have to try it. It's that good.
Yeah. Sounds good. So, where can our listeners find your music?
Everywhere where music can be found. No, yeah. So Spotify. I mean, like, so I went through DistroKid to release my music. So it's
Yeah.
on Spotify, Apple Music. Um, I I don't even know what all the options are, but I think it's like technically in 100 different places.
Okay. Cool. So anything else you'd like to plug or mention before we go, like social media or anything?
So my social media, on whatever social media you want to find me on, is always IAT Spirit. Um, and yeah, I think that's it.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Noel. This has been awesome.
Yeah, it was nice talking to you.
Hey, hello, it's nice to meet you.